Interestingly, this surface on the frame is not machined. It's part of the casting. And if you look close, you can see it's slightly irregular. The problem I'm having is that when I install the slide stop in the frame, because of that irregular surface, this doesn't go in quite far enough. It's held off of the surface by some irregularities, so it can't go in quite far enough. And when I install the slide in the frame, or onto the frame, this tab right here that slides through this notch doesn't completely clear the notch. So what I need to do is even up this surface and take just a little bit of material off of it. So I'm just going to use a stone and try to clean that up just a tiny little bit. I believe the interference is on this end. If I put this in here and look carefully, it looks like this is the end that's touching down here. Let me just show you what it's doing. Put that on here. There, so that's in all the way. I'm pressing on it with my thumb, but the slide won't move. Alright, so let me just clean this up a little bit with the stone, and we'll try that again. You can see all the high spots that that little bit of stoning took off. So let's see if it fits now. Not yet. Alright, so if I put the slide stop in here and look along the plane here where the two meet, slide stop and the frame, looks like it's fitting pretty well to me. So I thought maybe it looks like there's a little burr here. Maybe it's catching on that, so it won't go all the way through. So I just stoned that a little bit to knock any burr off of that. So put the slide on. And there's no burr on there now. That looks good. If there was before, if there ever was. But what's interesting, this goes flush without the slide on, but with the slide on, it looks like it won't go in as far. And I cannot see how that's happening. One other thing. If I put this together and look at, that's the bit that I thought wasn't clearing the rail on the slide, but it does go in further than that, which means it's clearing the rail. So I'm not exactly sure why it won't go in quite so far when the slide's on the gun. It doesn't make sense. But it definitely is not. There's definitely a gap right there, a big gap. So something's keeping this from going in as far when the slide's on the gun, and I don't get that. Okay, so I think I was right. The tab that fits through this little cutout wasn't able to go in far enough to clear the inside of the rail, and so the slide can't move. And I was also correct in my observation that when I put this in the pistol with the slide on, it can't go in all the way. There's a little clearance right here, and that's why the tab is catching. It's not clearing that notch. Okay, the reason I just figured out, with the slide on, the top of the rear part of the slide stop is butted up against the underside of the rail, or the underside of the slide right there. So the lower part of this slide is forcing the slide stop down, or preventing it from moving upward. There must be a little bit of metal in this corner right here, must not be a sharp corner in there, so that the slide stop can fit into that corner tightly. It must be rounded over a little bit, so that if the slide stop is down against this surface and I push in on it, then the slide stop also gets forced upward slightly, but it's bumping in to the lower part of the slide. So I need to add a little clearance back in there. Let me take it apart and show you. Alright, so this corner is not a sharp corner, and the corner of the slide stop is sharp, and this surface here is, the slide stop is butted up against that surface, which is forcing this corner down into this corner here. So this is low enough, but this corner doesn't have enough room for this corner, so it's causing clearance between here and here. The solution would either be to sharpen up this corner, and I think that could be pretty tough to do. If I had my milling machine, which I don't have yet, a nice sharp end mill would let me clean that up, but I don't. And possibly a better solution anyway would simply be to file away a little material, probably just from here down there. Let me show you. So you can see we don't really need any clearance here, because it's just a flat surface against a flat surface. Here the frame starts to rise up, and that's when you need to worry about the corner of this fitting into a corner of the frame. So what I'm going to do is just take a file and chamfer the bottom edge of the slide stop, starting around here all the way to the end. And it'll be covered up anyway, so I think nobody will even see it. So I just shoved a marker in that corner tightly so I can see exactly where I need to start my chamfer. So I can see, I'll start the chamfer right here, and then I'll just get a good chamfer all the way to the end here. And where that black is, I don't want chamfer at all, because at least for the time being, I want this edge sharp. It's a nice fit against that flat part of the frame, so I don't think I want to relieve that at all. And that's just for aesthetics. So I just want to hide this chamfer beneath the part that's hidden behind the frame there. That's where I'll chamfer. So you can see here when the last round is fired and the follower in the magazine pushes up on the slide stop here. After the empty case gets ejected and the slide starts to move forward again, the upward shove on the slide stop by the magazine follower will shove the slide stop into that cutout in the slide, and it'll lock back on the last round. And this front corner of the slide stop is preventing as much engagement as is possible. There's a little more engagement as possible. You can see some space here. So I'm just going to knock that corner off so we can get just a tiny bit more engagement of the slide stop. It was actually kind of tricky. I knocked the corner off initially with a Dremel, but the Dremel couldn't get in there as far as I wanted, so then I used a needle file and a little sandpaper, so I like that a little bit better.